I love this gentleman. 'Tis odds he never will affect me. I am base. My father, the mean keeper of his prison, and he, a prince. To marry him is hopeless. To be his whore is witless. Out upon it. What pushes are we when she's driven to, when once 15 has found us? First, I saw him. I seeing thought him a goodly man. He has much in him to please a woman, if he pleases to bestow it so, as ever these eyes yet looked on. Next, I pitied him, and so would any young wench of my conscience that ever dreamed or vowed her maidenhead to a young handsome man. Then I loved him, extremely loved him, infinitely loved him. Yet he had a cousin fair as he, but in my heart was Palamon. And there, Lord, what a coil he keeps. To hear him sing in an evening, what an heaven it is. And yet his songs are sad ones. Fair spoken was never gentleman. When I come in to bring him water in the morning, first he bows his noble body, then he salutes me thus. Fair gentle maid, good morrow. May thy goodness get thee a happy husband. Once he kissed me. I loved my lips the better. 10 days after, would he would do so every day. He grieves much, and me as much to see his misery. What should I do to let him know that I love him, for I would fain enjoy him? Say I ventured to set him free. What says the law then? This much for law or kindred. I will do it. And this night or tomorrow, he shall love me.
My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. And if snow be white, why then her breasts are done. If hairs be wires, then black wires grow on her head. I've seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes there is more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. Oh, I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied, without compare.
Even a rod of all days in the year, come Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14. Susan and she, God rest all Christian souls, were of an age, but Susan is with God. She was too good for me. Well, as I say, come Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14, aye, she shall marry, I never shall forget. 'Twas since the earthquake then 11 years, and she was weaned. I always will remember. 'Twas that day, above all days, when I put the wormwood on me dug, sitting in the sun. under the dove house wall. My lord and you were then in Mantua. Aye, I do bear a brain. But as I said, when it did taste the wormwood on the nipple of the duck and found it bitter, to see it grow tetchy and fall out with the dog, then, shake, quoth the dove house wall. There was no need I trout a big meat trudge. And since that day, it is 11 years. Aye, and she could stand alone. Nay, by the rood, she could run and toddle all about. And just the day before, she broke her brow. And then my husband, oh, God rest his soul, he were a merry man. He took up the child. Yea, quoth he, didst thou fall upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backwards when thou hast more wit, wilt thou not, Jewel? And the pretty child, it stinted its crying and said, aye. So you see, our jest can come to pass. If I should live 1,000 years, I never shall forget it. Wilt thou not, Jewel, quoth he? And the pretty child, it stinted and said, aye. Oh, dear.
Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself, it cannot be called our mother but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rend the air are made, not mocked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is there scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expires before the flowers in their caps, dying ere they sicken. When I came here to transport the tidings which I have so heavily borne, there ran a rumour of many worthy fellows who were out, which was, to my belief, witnessed the rather, for I have seen the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time for help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight, to doff their dire distresses.
And what's he then, that says I play the villain, when this advice is free I give, and honest? Probable to thinking, and indeed, the course to win the more again. For 'tis most easy the inclining Desdemona to subdue to any honest suit. She's framed as fruitful as the free elements. And then for her to win the more, were to it renounce his baptism, all seals and symbols of redeemed sin. His soul is so infettered to her love that she may make, unmake, do what she list, even as her appetite shall play the god with his weak function. How am I then a villain to counsel Cassio to this parallel course, directly to his good? Divinity of hell, where devils will the blackest sins put on, they do suggest at first to heavenly shows, as I do now. For whiles this honest fool plies Desdemona to repair his fortunes, and she for him pleads strongly to the more. I'll pour this pestilence in his ear, that she repeals him for his body's lust, and by how much she strives to do him good, she shall undo her credit with the more. And so, will I turn her virtue into pitch, and out of her own goodness make the net that shall enmesh them all.
I would have broke mine eye strings, cracked them, just to look upon him, till the diminution of space had pointed him as sharp as my needle, nay, followed him, till he had melted from the smallest of a gnat to air. And then I've turned mine eye and wept. I did not take my leave of him, but had most pretty things to say ere I could tell him how I would think of him at certain hours, such thoughts and such, or I could make him swear the she's of Italy should not betray mine interest and his honour, or have charged him at the 6th hour of morn, at noon, at midnight, to encounter me with orisons, for then I am in heaven for him. Or ere I could give him that parting kiss, which I had set betwixt two charming words, comes in my father like the tyrannous breathing of the north, and shakes all our buds from growing.
Why then, build me thy fortunes upon the basis of valour. Challenge me the Count's youth to fight with him, hurt him in 11 places. My niece shall take note of it, and assure thyself there is no love broker in the world can more prevail in man's commendation with woman than report of valour.
Our revels now have ended. These, our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded for sleep.
By day and night he wrongs me. Every hour he flashes into some gross crime or other that sets us all at odds. I'll not endure it. His nights grow riotous, and himself upbraids us on every trifle. When he returns from hunting, I shall not speak with him. Say I am sick. If you come slack of former service, you shall do well. The fault of it I'll answer. Put on what weary negligence you please, you and your fellows. I'd have it come to question. If he distaste it, let him to my sister, whose mind and mine I know in that are one, not to be overruled. Idle old man, but still would manage those authorities that he hath given away. Oh, by my life! Old fools are babes again, and must be used with checks as flatteries when they are seen abused. And let his knights have colder looks among you. What comes of it, no matter. Advise your fellows so. I would breed from hence occasions, and I shall, that I may speak. I shall write straight to my sister, to hold my very course. Prepare for dinner.
When I do count the clock that tells the time and see the brave day sunk in hideous night, when I behold the violet past prime and sable curls all silvered o'er with white, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heat did canopy the herd, and summer's green all girded up in sheaves, borne on the bier with white and bristly beard, then of thy beauty do I question make, that thou amongst the wastes of time must go, since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake and die as fast as they see others grow, and nothing 'gainst time's scythe can make defence, save breed, to brave him when he takes thee hence.
The little love god, lying once asleep, laid by his side his heart inflaming brand, whilst many nymphs that vowed chaste life to keep came tripping by. But in her maiden hand the fairest votary took up that fire, which many legions of true hearts had warmed. And so the general of hot desire was sleeping by a virgin hand disarmed. This brand she quenched in a cool well by, which from love's fire took heat perpetual, growing a bath and healthful remedy for men diseased. But I, my mistress thrall, came there for cure, and this by that I prove, love's fire heats water, water cools not love.
My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hair be wires, black wires grow in her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, yet no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfume is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet I know that music hath a more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, she treads on the ground. And yet by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarms changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim visage war hath smoothed his wrinkled front. And now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak, piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to see my shadow in the sun and descant on my known deformity. Deedly-dee, deedly-dee. And, therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate the one against the other, and if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence be closely mewed up about a prophecy that says that G of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. Here Clarence comes.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. Or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon 'gainst self-slaughter. God, God! How weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Fie on it. Oh, fie! 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely. It should come to this, but 2 months dead. Nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king that was to this Hyperion to a satyr, so loving to my mother that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth must I remember. Why, she would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. Yet within a month, let me not think on it. Frailty, thy name is woman. A little month, or ere those shoes were old, with which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe, all tears. Why, she, even she, God, a beast that wants discourse of reason would have mourned longer. Married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my uncle than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing of her galled eyes, she married. Most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets is not, nor cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue.
What? Do you tremble? Are you all afraid? Alas, I blame you not, for you are mortal, and mortal eyes cannot endure the devil. Avaunt, thy dreadful minister of hell! Thou hast but power over his mortal body, but his soul thou canst not have. Therefore be gone. Foul devil, for God's sake hence, and trouble us not. For thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, filled it with cursing cries and deep exclaims. If thou delight to view thy heinous deeds, behold this pattern of thy butcheries. Oh, gentlemen, see, dead Henry's wounds open their congealed mouths and bleed afresh. Blush, thou lump of foul deformity, for 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood from cold and empty veins where no blood dwells. Thy deed, inhuman and unnatural, provokes this deluge most unnatural. O God, which this blood mazed, revenge his death. O earth, which this blood drinks, revenge his death. Either heaven with lightning strike the murderer dead, or earth gape open wide and eat him quick. As thou dost swallow up this good king's blood, which his hell-governed arm hath butchered.
Damn spot. How did I say? 1, 2. And 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord. Fie. A soldier. What afeard? What need we fear? Who knows it? When none can call our power to account. Who would have thought the old man had so much blood in him? Then a fife and a wife. Where's she now? What? Will these hands never be clean? No more of that, my lord. No more of that. You marvel with your starting. Here's the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Not so pale. I tell you again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out of the grave. To bed. To bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come. 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 Come, give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed. To bed. To bed.
I confess, here on my knee before high heaven and you, that before you and next unto high heaven, I love your son. My friends were poor but honest, so's my love. Be not offended, for it hurts not him that he is loved of me. I follow him not by any token of presumptuous suit, nor would I have him till I do deserve him, yet never know how that desert should be. I know I love in vain, strive against hope, yet in this captious and intensible sea, I still pour in the waters of my love, and lack not to lose still. Thus, Indian-like, religious in mine air, I adore the sun that looks upon his worshipper but knows of him no more. My dearest madam, let not your hate encounter with my love, for loving where you do, but if yourself, whose aged honor cites of virtuous youth, did ever in so true a flame of liking wish chastely and love dearly, that your Dian was both herself and love, oh, then give pity to her whose state is such that cannot choose, but lend and give where she is sure to lose, that seeks not to find that her search implies, but riddle-like lives sweetly where she dies.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wander'st in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grow'st. So long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Happy birthday, Will, from across the pond. Thanks.